Everyone thinks they're the OGs.
I know.
Drake says he's taking a break from music. Good.
To do what?
I don't know.
Why?
Who knows?
I think Drake and Rihanna should have been together.
I don't think he
Don't you
was
think?
good
That's
for
like
her.
too
Really?
much. Yeah.
Remember Take Care, that song?
Yeah.
It's just so good.
Being like, you
Oh,
need to
he's
get
here.
married and all that stuff. So,
I'm gonna patch him in.
मैं एक तो शुक्र कर
Introducing.
चूल ठीक correct.
Hi.
Uh-oh, unmute.
Uh-oh.
On mute. Not on mute anymore. Hi, how's it going?
Listen, you need to give us some like warning. We were all like fixing our
know.
hair real fast before you entered the
I
chat.
know, I know. And Rihanna and Drake should have been together for
How
sure.
long have you been listening?
I agree. I agree to that. No shit.
Thank God we weren't talking about him, guys. It's a
would
good thing
only
we
say good
stopped
things
right
anyway.
before that.
Oh, yeah.
Hello. How's
Hi,
it
how's
going, man?
I'm good.
Yeah, I can't picture you anything but Farooque Bhai. Like that's literally what I thought your name was until I did a little bit more research and realized that wasn't your name. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I prefer it. So my dad used to go by the same name. So it's like
yeah,
family
tell us.
lineage.
Oh, the
Yeah,
love is just so sweet.
it is. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that story of why you chose Farooque Bhai as your alias?
Yeah, I mean, I was in Waterloo, Canada, and there were like 20 Bangladesis there at that point. So I never thought the music would, take a life of its own or anything. So for me, it was I'm starting my music, and when I was a kid, I used to see my dad getting referred by Farooq Bhai, and yeah, he was my hero. He passed away when I was 8 years old. So when that happens, when people die, you always hear like the folklore version of every
Mm,
story. Like there were 200 soldiers, and your dad was there with a pocket knife, and he killed all of them. So I grew up listening to like the amazing things that my dad did, and I was like, okay, when I grow up, I want to be like this guy. But he was a musician, but he was more of a hobbyist, and he was a lawyer, which I'm not. So when I started playing music, I was like, okay, this is my tribute to my dad to carry on this name. But it's surpassed all my expectations from sitting in that couch in Waterloo with the ukulele and being like, I know four chords, so I'm gonna make my first song now. So that's the whole story of Isa to Farooq, I guess.
that's
I love it.
awesome. So you didn't actually know how to play any instruments or any knowledge of music before that? Like when you're in Waterloo, walk us through this. You didn't actually move to Canada until much later.
Yeah. So I used to see my bands play in school when I was in Dhaka. And by Dhaka, I mean I went to Scholastica, and my friends in Scholastica used to have a band. And I used to see their vocalist come back home and during my shower take the shower head and try to do like chaos AD, X off the street, and try to imagine the energy of playing to a crowd and all of that. So I went to Waterloo, or I moved to Waterloo when I was 18, which is a long time ago. And at that point, my friends were like, "Yo, do you get the Parish? So can you sing?" I'm like, "Yeah, I can. I sang in the bathroom. I got a few years of music schooling under my belt." He's like,
Okay.
"Well, like when did you go to music school?" I was like, "When I was 6." When did you? They're like, "Okay." We have a Bengali Student Association cultural
Hmm.
night,
Aha. It
and you
always
have
starts there.
it
Yeah.
always starts there. And
Mm-hmm.
they're like, you have to sing one song by Black, and you have to sing
Mhm.
Shut It Loud. I was like, sure. Uh,
What?
yeah.
Of all the
So
songs?
yeah, because we were all 18, and we are like, what's the most cultural song? Like, Shut It Loud.
That's it.
It
That's
Yeah.
is.
true.
So that's where it started about 15 years ago. And I picked up my first instrument in third year of university. I realized my friends are all going away, and that's going to be the death of my musical career. I was like, okay, time to pick up that $30 ukulele and learn some cover songs and go from there.
I love
No.
it.
You learned that by yourself, like on YouTube, that kind of training, or
Yeah, everyone learns
wow,
everything on YouTube now. So.
it's true. It is
Yeah.
true. So
And
Scholastica.
sorry, go.
Oh, go ahead, Maya.
No. I was gonna say, with your background being when you were 6, you went to what Ganer school. It was
Yeah,
Robinder Shankit, right?
yeah.
And you weren't a big
Oh.
fan.
Oh, I used to hate it. I used to hate it. So my mom told me that I'm gonna get you into a music school. So my parents had this stuff, and then they were like, "We're gonna put him in music school." And then they come to me, and like I'm playing with my GI Joes, smashing them against each other. They're like, "Oh, you're gonna go to music school." I'm like, oh, they're like, "Oh, it's on the weekend." I was like, No, I'm not going. And they're like, No, listen, they teach you Bob Marley. And I was the biggest
Oh,
Bob Marley fan
Oh,
as a kid. I have videos of when I was 3 singing like Buffalo Soldier, like
Bad
you know.
luck,
So I was
Rasta.
exactly, and I was like Bob Marley, wow, you know. And they were like, okay, yeah, we're gonna put you into Shongit Bhavan and they teach Bob Marley. And I was like, okay, I'm sold. So I go in there, and after a few days, I tell my mom like they're teaching all this sag, reja, and there's this guy called Robindro, and they're trying to teach me his songs. And my
no.
mom was like, no, this is what's going to happen. That's the truth. And you have to learn this. So, you know, when something's forced on you and at peak cricket or soccer time on the weekend, so like 3 to 5 p.m. in Bangladesh,
Mm.
and everyone's playing cricket and you're being pulled into the music school,
The
you
worst.
develop a hate towards it, a hatred. So I think when I was 12, I went to my mom. I'm like, okay, there's no dad anymore, and I'm the adult, and I'm 12. I'm 4'9".
Adult.
I'm almost your
4'9".
size. Yeah, and I don't want to go to music school anymore. So my mom's like, why? I'm like, there's 52 girls, and I'm the only guy. And you
Little
can
did you
tell,
know, dude.
little,
Little did you
Yeah.
know.
right?
even
That's
that
the
wasn't
best
a
position.
Yeah, that I'm gonna write whole albums about women.
yeah.
Yeah. That was
And
the same for me too, because I also went to music school, I think when I was 5 or 6. Shurer Dhara, also Rabindra Sangeet, and I hated it. I had that debate with my parents. It was like either karate or music schools. I was like, karate, duh. This is like a no-brainer. But they put me in music school and I hated it. Obviously, I never pursued it. I sing like a crow.
I had a
So
গানের
Please.
টিচার
yeah.
come সে প্রথম দিন আসছে আমি বসছি সেকেন্ড দিন আসছে একটু হারমোনিয়াম বাজাইছে this whole সারেগামা থার্ড দিন আমি ঘুম থেকেই উঠি নাই I was like forget it and she never came back and now I regret it now I'm like আম্মা তুমি কেন
Because
আমাকে
তুমি
জোর করে
like
ধরে
করো।
কেন yeah
uh,
But so you were there till 18 or so. So I'm assuming you did like your O levels, A levels, all that
yeah,
stuff there.
yeah. I started at 2 years and 10 months till 18. So I've been
Wow.
Jeez.
Scholastica through and through. Scholastica was in Dhanmondi when I used to live in Uttara, and Scholastica was in Uttara when I used to live in Dhanmondi. So
Oh
I
my
always
gosh.
traveled across the entirety of Dhaka to go from home to Scholastica.
Oh man.
But no,
That
I loved my
commute.
time there.
Jeez.
But I
what was
have
your
to say
favorite
that
part
my favorite part was soccer, and second favorite part was just bugging my teachers. I don't know. It's very close second. Like I would meet my teachers now and they'd be like, you were like the worst in music class. Like you could sing, but you were the worst. You torment me. Like how did you become a musician? Like
wow
and I'd be like, Miss Apna Dua, and then they'd be so happy. Though they never prayed for me, you know, they'd be like, oh nah, chop shumai dua kori.
That's such a good response to anyone that criticizes you. It's like, yeah, dua korben.
You're a
So
big
you were
soccer fan too, right? No?
Huge soccer fan. Like
yeah,
one half of my rooms, like all what do you call it? It's my own pictures and posters, self-indulgence, and the other side's all like Manchester United.
that's a tragic
Butchered.
team to support right now.
uh-oh
I
Need
know,
good
I know.
defense, maybe, switch out your goalkeeper. It's just a lot of things happening, man.
That's a separate podcast altogether. I'd bring a whole box of tissues for that one.
Wait,
Oh
can we
my
talk
god.
about your shirt for a minute?
Hmm.
I'm
Yes.
Okay.
enthralled.
Okay. This is this New York-based designer called Keith Super. I
Ooh.
love his stuff, and yeah, he's very cool. He does art, and then he prints out his art in clothes, and sometimes he makes cool bags and jackets. So like I went through the whole like Gucci, YSL, Dolce and Gabbana, all that phase, and then I was like, it's too mainstream. I need to like
Basic.
go more deep into this fashion world to find my niche again. You know.
I like it. And that comes
Yeah.
through, I feel like it comes
Mhm.
through in your music and how you,
Absolutely.
right? Your videos,
The
all your
videos.
music, your sound.
Yeah, you can see the colors and be like, this guy's gonna be like bright and loud and extroverted,
Is that
and
you?
yeah, yeah,
I feel like, are
most
you
most
extroverted?
days very extroverted. Yeah, but I had to tone myself down since I got famous. But like,
Oh, why?
it's important. It's important. It's important. As you grow up, you realize that not always speaking the truth loudly is it doesn't equate to lying. Just sometimes
Mm-hmm.
not speaking the truth out loudly just doesn't hurt someone's sentiments, and that's so
Mm.
important in life. If every time I said something that wasn't the smartest thing or was didn't align with someone else's viewpoint, if they always put me down or said something snarky, I don't know. My life would be a lot more miserable. So I wouldn't want to compound to someone else's miseries either.
That
Oh,
is
wise
a
words.
different level of
Yeah,
emotional maturity, I would say.
absolutely.
Easier said than done.
I bet.
Yeah,
I bet. A lot of people have the other problem where they don't
Hmm.
say enough.
yeah,
Yeah, that
Were you
happens a lot.
always super fashion forward, like since you were young?
yeah. For sure, I would say yes, but the thing is, fashion has to come with a budget. Like
Mm.
broke
You
fashion is a very new concept. I
brocade.
would broke. Yeah, shout out to my friends at Broke. But like, yeah, I would sift through like piles of clothes at Bongo Bazaar to be like,
Oh, R.I.P.
what's the
man.
yeah,
We so many
RIP.
stories.
But it's things like that, or having to fight with my mom to wear a light pink shirt on my high school graduation and things like that. I would say, with in the absence of my dad, my uncles were a big influence for me, and a couple of my uncles are like one of my mamas and one of my kalus are really into fashion. And my kalu would go into Uniqlo. He came to Canada the other day. Like a couple months ago, and he went to Uniqlo and he was like, Itache, 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 Itache. And I'm like, how do you have all of Uniqlo? And then he has like three suit closets at home. So he teach me like single breasted and double breasted. Like, oh, in the summer you should wear a linen jacket. And like when I was 13, I was like, oh. When I grow up, I have to like take notes and remember these things. And then he'd be like, oh, why are you wearing a belt? You're wearing loafers. I'm like, oh. And so I would say fashion has always been a part of my interest, but how I define fashion has changed over time and will hopefully keep changing.
I have a question regarding your fashion though, because I feel like your style is kind of hovers between masculinity and like a very eclectic niche kind of, I guess, I don't know, would you call it a genre? Like, have you ever been bullied for the way you dress or the way you put yourself out there, or are you just kind of above it all? Do you just, your confidence just kind of overtakes it all?
I have been bullied by my clothing, but like by that time, I've been bullied so much worse about so many things that it it was like the low end. It was like the P3 on that DevOps list of things to do. It was yeah, but like I would walk into class one day at Waterloo, and one of my friends, she's like, "Oh, did you wear your girlfriend's shirt to school today?" And small things like that. But I don't know. I just never cared. I just I just always liked colors. I felt like otherwise, I don't know. I sometimes say that I want to be a walking piece of art. So,
I mean,
Yes,
you
I
are.
love that.
You are, yep.
That's a great way to describe it.
If you were to
yeah,
walk and sing wearing that shirt, you would literally
Mm-hmm.
be a walking piece of
With
art, of
all
your
those
art.
music
of
videos.
my art.
Yeah,
Okay.
So
it's true.
tell us more about your well career. I mean, we all think indulged in an interview we saw of yours of the dual life. So you
Mhm.
have a day job and you have your music job.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about that.
So by the day, I'm like a typical Bengali engineer, but I moved into data like early in my internships. So I've been in the data field for about 15 years now. So work as a data architect in between jobs right now, but probably start working again in a couple of weeks if things go as they're supposed to go. And yeah, I feel like I like them both. I've had 5 months off the data stuff for the first time in my life, and it wasn't as enjoyable. I feel like there was a part of my life that's missing.
Mm.
Uh, Music was always what I used to do to free my mind of all the data related stuff. So even though the logistics and the planning and all of that became a big part of the music and the part that I don't necessarily enjoy as much, I feel like there's my brain still looks for like a bit of data and a bit of music every day in some way or another. So yeah, I lived that dual life, and I tried to just do music for a bit, and I realized that I need them both.
Wow.
Yeah,
It's a good balance, huh?
yeah, it's a good balance, and it keeps me grounded. Like no one at work knows what I do. Like if my boss has to yell at me, my boss is gonna yell at me. I mean, not really yell at me, but if he has to say something snarky, he'll just say it, right? But in the music scene, most people wouldn't. They'd be like, "Oh,
Mm-hmm.
Farooque Bhai, such a
Wait,
huge
so
fan."
people you work with don't know how famous you are?
Yes and no. I would tell them a little bit, but not much, so that they don't feel like they don't go like, "Oh, কেন story post করতেছে কাজের মাঝখানে?"
Mm-hmm.
Oh, acha.
Yeah, এটা বাংলায় বলতে চেয়েছি ইচ্ছা করে।
Yeah, buchi,
Uh,
Please
ha,
feel
ha.
that.
Mm.
it's
Yeah, I
interesting.
think Farooque Bhai, you said this in something else, another interview. I think you were like, it's not about you're not in the game to be famous.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind it, but like it doesn't affect me that much. Numbers is not as important as quality to me. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
every time I hit a million, it's like Eid for sure. So I can't completely say that it's like it's a gray area for sure. But my definition of growth would probably be similar people that listen to my music in Bangladesh. Hopefully, the same kind of people in India and Pakistan find it interesting. I think if I listen to Punjabi music, I understand about 25% of it. If they listen to Bangla music, I think they'll get 25% of it too.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like if fame comes in that direction, I'd completely embrace it and hug and cry. But like, yeah, I like what I've built, and
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily have to grow more than what's organic. I'm not looking for every household in Patuakhali knowing Farooq Bhai project. Not
Maybe they
at
already
least
do.
not yet.
But is your
Oh,
audience mostly in Bangladesh? Like, where are your listeners if you have any data from?
I think mostly Dhaka, Chittagong, a lot of urban population.
Mm.
Dhaka, Chittagong, খালি বললে ভুল হবে because now there's a lot of different urban populations like
Mm-hmm.
Kumilla,
Mm-hmm.
Rajshahi, and all of that. But stats would say Dhaka, Chittagong, Kolkata, New York, Toronto, London, Sydney,
Minnesota.
That's cool.
Minnesota.
Chicago.
Los Angeles.
I'm actually writing a song called Gontobbo Kothay where I like shout out different city names.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Where's the destination?
Can
Oh.
we
Oh,
talk about your command in Bangla? Because for a lot of folks that go to English medium schools, everybody can speak Bangla, but there's a difference. And I am so impressed by the Bangla, especially in your songs. How do you know such good Bangla?
I don't think my songs have good Bangla at all for most parts. I
কঠিন
think
কথা বলো তুমি এগুলির
both
মধ্যে।
but
I
I
think
think
there's a couple.
I think I say it in a very simple manner. Mane,
Maybe that's what it
deep
is.
deep kotha is very simple words. You wouldn't find like for me art still is Kothin Bangla, you know.
That's
Yep.
true.
But
Make dal.
Mm-hmm.
I watch a lot of yeah, Megdal and stuff. But I watch a lot of cricket news every day. So like because I follow the league cricket and stuff. I was on Cricket for once as a Bangladesh cricket expert
No.
for like
Huh.
a podcast for
Wow.
like
Really?
a couple hours. Yeah, it was pretty cool. But like I've been following like the league cricket since like 2005 or something. Like I was like stats nut. So yeah, it's like ওইখান থেকে শিখি একটু একটু বাংলা but ওইখান থেকেই সব শিখি I guess but এছাড়া I'm not scared to use English words here and there just like how we
Yeah.
Right.
speak and when I started I think my biggest para or my biggest roadblock was getting out the mindset of writing like how Bengali lyrics is structured for by everyone else ছুঁয়ে দিয়েছো আমার মনটিকে
Right.
তোমার ধরণীর এই অগমান আমার I don't know what they
Right.
mean but like I'm throwing
Right.
them out and they would sound nice so because I've listened to this my entire life and I started writing the first version of what I write is very similar to what I've listened to my whole life.
Mm.
So it took a lot of iteration to be able to get out of that and write a song like my first song if I talk about it like এত স্বার্থের চিন্তা করে কি হবে হাতে তসবি জমি জামা বালিশ খানাও কিনিবে ওপারে গাঁটটি বেঁধে তোমাকে পিরামিড বানিয়ে কে শোয়াবে it's like very
Woo!
simple words
So
but
good.
like it's like a lot of angst about like personal things and just came out but it took a lot to go from there to make that jump into like writing something that's simple and intricate and then going from there to as I was getting more and more into pop it was like reimagining how to write one all over again. I was
Mm.
trying to rap, or I do rap, but I found this middle ground in artists like Bad Bunny and Anderson Paak, where they would do something that's between rapping and singing. And I was
Mm.
like, okay, I could do something like this. And one of my tracks, Kamina, is I think a good example of just that, where it's somewhere you would say I'm rapping, but it's completely like I'm also singing in key while I'm
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
rapping. Mishina mikono kaminar. So like Mishina
Yep.
mikono kaminar or something.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like trying to find words that fit certain genres and trying to write lyrics loosely telling a story, but mostly enunciation focused. Like
Mm.
chikimiki shirt pore part eto ki sundor. So
Mm-hmm.
when I wrote that, there was like a loose story of like this, but there was also uh, an emphasis of like I'm gonna use the words chikimiki because it's two words that rhyme with each other and are used as a single phrase in Bangla. So it's like I'm starting the song off in a way where it's like a fun enunciation to sing as soon as you hear it. And then the Tiki Tiki Agun Jalai Mone Shabar came from like there's a sense of familiarity with Tiki Tiki
Yep.
Agun Jole. But I'm not copying from them.
Yep.
But if I put that thing, it's like a sense of familiarity with something you already know. Because Tiki Tiki also has that same enunciation thing where it's two words that rhyme with each other that are put
Mhm.
together in a phrase. So yeah, I try to like reverse engineer my ideas and write in a way where it's more enunciation forward than I would say storytelling forward, which
Mhm.
was more of my style in Obustan Jibabustan, which was my first album.
We were just
I see
saying
that for sure.
before you, I think it was before you popped in,
Who knows
that
how
you're,
long he's been listening
I
to
know,
us?
but we were saying how your music, at least I think, when I first heard it, you're like, it sounds so familiar, but it doesn't. It very clearly doesn't. And I think you just explained why. Because the words are so much of how we speak or what we've heard. Like we were just saying we love Miles and that is one of their most popular songs.
Mm.
So that I thought was very interesting. And I will say when I read Gene Booth Tonic, it
Mm.
blew my mind. I was like, why didn't I think of that? That
Yeah.
is so clever.
Mhm.
So the play on words that you use that I think are so cross cultural, is so unique because I
Yeah.
haven't heard that in Bangla music as often. I think, I think Fuad does a lot of it, but he still has like I think his sound is obviously very different. But there's something about your music where I'm just like, shit, I know I've heard that somewhere. So
I want to
relatable.
hear it in like regular clubs, don't you? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember Bangladesh even when they would have those Aisita, they would have those parties. And I'm like, why aren't there Bangla music? There's no
Yeah.
genre of Bangladeshi music that you can play at a club
Yeah.
and just really, let loose.
Yep.
But then,
Absolutely.
Farooque Bhai comes along.
Right.
You know, it a hugely underrated body of work is Fuad Bhai's previous work that was called Maya.
I was part of that record
So,
company.
oh, really? I think of it so many times. Like there's
Yeah.
Yes.
so many gems in there. Like something like
Yes.
"Mone pure jai she
Yes.
tomai." Like
Mhm.
I want to do like a drum and bass cover or something of that, like or like a UK garage version of that or something. Like it'd
That
be
would be
so
Mhm.
cool.
cool. Like that album is like so ahead of its time. And if you talk about the kind of music which feels familiar but it also feels fresh at the same time. Like when I was younger and I came across that Maya, I don't know what to call it, that body of work for Maya by Farooq Bhai. Like that was it for me. That was like my like Farooq Bhai moment. Like damn, they're taking like a waz and then they're saying Danu Danne Pushpe Pora and someone's
Yes.
rapping. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bushra, I think you asked something. I got
No, I
lost
was
in
just
my
it's funny you mentioned that because gosh, that work is probably 25 years old now, but
yeah.
Fuad and I
Yeah.
were like I was in college and he's always been incredibly talented. And we, talked about like we need to make an album. And so it was myself, Fuad, and another person. We started this record company called West 4 Records
Was for records.
and literally went to all our mama chacha to get like financing for it. And shout out to Aladdin, like in Jackson Heights. I mean, just we went restaurant to restaurant from like bookstores to bookstores to be like, will you
Please,
finance?
Takadun.
Yeah, Taka that like, will you finance this Bangladeshi album? And so $500 এখানে $1000 এখানে এইভাবে like we collected money and that was really the birth of Fuad and Maya and all,
A
and this
revolution.
yeah, and this Maya did
Mhm.
not exist. We didn't even know this
No,
Maya.
no.
Um, Fuad named the album Maya. And yeah, it was just sort of the beginning of all that. And then it went to Maya 2. And all of a sudden, Fuad blew up. He, went to Dhaka. I mean, we used to literally sit in a Burger King and talk about how one day Fuad's going to become famous.
Damn.
And then, all these things happen. And so it's incredible to hear someone like you now talk about that album because we're like, who the hell's going to
Oh,
listen to
no.
this? A lot of people
Fuad's
did.
gonna cry when he
I
sees this. I'm
know.
just saying.
It's
Hey,
crazy.
it's the same notion for me. I'm this kid from Waterloo. Who the hell's gonna listen to my music?
Yeah.
And things just if the music has legs and it's something different where you're not putting too much thought into who's going to listen to it, I think that's when some of the best work comes out.
Yeah.
You know, and then of course later on in life when you can just call your favorite musicians and you have the budget to do things. That's
Just collaborate.
another another way of like fulfilling your creative dreams and making things work out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's authentic. It's
I
not like
think
you're not
having
trying to
also
be something you're not.
right, right. And like having everybody kind of under that umbrella of the World Wide Web, I feel like it's brought people
Mhm.
so much closer together in terms of, collaborating and just getting creative together.
Yeah.
But it's
Thank
all
The texture of your voice is also super unique. You also don't hear
Yes.
kind of that tone and texture in Bangla music. Have you ever been like, has anyone been like, nah, eta cholbe na? Like, was there any kind of like roadblocks from
Yeah,
your
I
just
mean,
unique style?
my mom would be like nak dega bana, gola দিয়ে গাইতে হবে."
Yeah,
So I
right.
guess that's where
Mm.
the depth comes from, and I don't know. Is this a family show? I don't know. I've been cursing so
Have
We
you
much.
heard
curse.
me?
no.
Have
Have
you
you
heard
Okay,
heard
me?
okay,
Have
Bushra?
you?
okay. Oh, and the rest is like my voice was more like this. My voice was more like this, and then all that cigarettes and
Mm-hmm.
alcohol and
Yeah.
weed, and now
It's
it's
like
just like this.
sandpaper now, huh?
It's like sandpaper, exactly. But like, yeah, when I need that like high register, I'll bring it out. Like, I have a track called Amar Priyo, and then sing that's like
Oh,
Amar Priyo.
Yes.
But like my
So good.
actual voice would probably be like Amar Priyo, more
the
like
video for
Tasan.
that song was
So good.
so bomb.
That's my directorial debut.
Oh wow.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah.
So wait, so that is your voice, or did you put synthesizer or whatever the heck it's
No, that's
called?
my voice.
That is
That's my
yours.
voice.
Okay.
That's my
That's
voice.
like that's amazing how different
Okay.
it can
Yeah,
be.
yeah. I realized from our singing days or like trying to again hyper analyze everything. I realized the two main tones in my anyone's voice is like the head voice and the which is the
Mm-hmm.
chest voice, and I can make any tone within that spectrum by mixing a different amount of low and high. So when I'm singing, if I mix it up, I can make it sound like this, or if I mix more of the low, I can make it sound like this. And then there's the whole spectrum in the middle based on the genre or what I'm going for. Like try to go up and down, be like, nah, A line tate. It needs a little more. Like I'm writing this song and I sang like Gontobbo Kothai Boluna Choluna Shekhane. And then I was like, no, the Boluna is too masculine. I'd rather go like Boluna Choluna Shekhane. And then bring in the mids at the end. Choluna Shekhane. So it's just
I'm
different
excited
like
for this song.
lens of but I've done it all my life, I guess. I'm glad that I can nerd out about it on a podcast.
No, it's so I mean, but Marion, you're right. Like I feel like you hear your sound, people know it's you. You
Oh,
know, there are
yeah.
certain artists you just know they're like Shakira, everybody knows her.
Yeah.
You know, so it's so cool that you have that unique tone.
Because whenever Maya sends me videos of like any of them dancing to my music or like singing, and it's always so fulfilling. I show it to all my friends and be like that what my wife.
What a flex.
No,
What a
it is a flex. I
Oh,
have a screenshot on my phone of the first time I saw that a story says Tasan Khan and the circle was green because it was like close friends. I was like, oh shit!
Oh.
I was like,
You're
let me
in.
screenshot this moment and keep it in my favorites. It's like I want to show my kids that. Tasan.
I have a screenshot of the time when I think I sent you a friend request and you sent me a friend request back. And I think I shared it too. I was like, my mind is just like, I have so many high profile people on my Instagram, but this one was the most important of all. The
That's
Farooque Bhai
right.
added me.
That was a big influence for a lot of us as kids when we'd get into Watson Brothers, find out about Arafat, go through his personal stuff, and realize like there's such a treasure trove of Bangla subculture that
Yeah.
exists outside our little English medium bubble.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
I guess that's what made me fascinated since I was in my teens about all these different subcultures, whether it's like Kumar Bishwajit showing off his like plants in his chad in Matio Manush, or like the randomest people in like a How singing like about their son not playing soccer. So it'd be like Har bijare ball helada toba kuira sar. So
What
and,
is
and it's like
that?
an entire village singing a song about this guy called Parvez, who in the How is called Harbija, and for him to stop playing soccer and
Oh,
focus on his
wow.
family. So there's all these different subcultures, and
Yeah,
it's a
I
lot of
forgot
fun
about
to.
Watson Brothers. That was also revolutionary. Rangieda was like a movement.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it's a
right.
beautiful song.
So how
And
do you I
Arafat, I
mean
have to send him some love too, because he's
yeah.
like supported us from day one, and he is such a treasure. Like he's just full of just good stuff, and I think
He's a
he was also a
genius.
part. He was a part of kind of the entire Bangladeshi music movement,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
he's always been there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Very few people know more than Arafat about the history of Bangladeshi music. Like he's a treasure
Mhm.
trove.
He
So
is.
Yeah.
someone needs to get all that information out from him and
Yeah.
turn it into
Documented.
a huge 3-volume book or something.
To get him really high.
So
Really.
how do you, I mean, you've been living in Waterloo or Canada for a long time now. Like, how do you balance the two lives, right? Like, obviously, it's so clear to me that you're so rooted in Bangladeshi culture, Bangladesh, and now you're an immigrant living in Canada. Like, how do you manage all that?
Firstly, uh, some things always need to give. For me, when I was getting serious about music, I gave my cousin my PS3. It's like, here you go. If I keep playing
Wow.
FIFA, this is not gonna happen. And the second thing is I don't have too much of an interest in movies and TV shows. So like if it's not based on real life, I kind of get bored. I can't do fiction,
Me
Mm-hmm.
like,
too.
so it has to be like something that gives me knowledge, or else it's not worth it. So that frees up a lot of time, and that time went into like doing music or making music with my friends. So it wasn't too tough, and it's still not that tough till times come up where I have to make a music video and I have to get all the logistics together, because for most parts I work solo. So
Mm.
all the logistics, all the marketing, all the branding, and getting getting artists involved, getting illustrators involved, and all of that. So that's when it gets really hectic. If I have vacation days, I'll take a couple of vacation days and work through a lot of the stuff. Other than that, Maya, you would know too that the main money for artists comes from touring.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
my vacation days, once every 2 years, I go to Italy for a couple of weeks because I love Italy. But other than that, it's mostly going back to Bangladesh and
Mm.
using that time to play shows, generate income, bring that income back, reinvest all that income into the next body of work. It's like a circular process. The more I can generate, the better
Mm-hmm.
quality my music videos can be and stuff like that.
Do you have shows in Canada too?
I might have my first one in November, first one in four
Ooh.
years, but I've only focused on Dhaka for like a few years, and I had a certain idea about how I want my shows to be in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
Maya, the show you came to in Bar Cathedral where Fuad Bhai played with Shuno, like that's my idea of like the kind of shows I want to do in Toronto. So
Yeah.
I was waiting for the right branding, the right people,
Yeah,
the
I was
right
gonna
day.
ask, how do you anticipate your audience? Or
It can't be a mela. I can't imagine Farooque Bhai playing in a
God,
fucking
no.
mela
No, please.
Exactly.
with all the
Exactly.
uncles going like this.
No,
Wait,
please.
like Fobana or whatever you mean? Like Mala, like
Yes.
Fobana?
Mm.
Yeah, no,
Mm.
let's
Nope.
not do that.
I love to get on stage when everyone's hammered. So by the time I get on stage, no inhibitions, everyone just singing as loud as they can, everyone's dancing, and like that should be the mela.
The
Yes.
different
Thing.
Mela.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
went to watch Anderson Paak once, and what he started with is like this super high energy song. They took the mic and he said, you might all have a lot of problems in your life, and there's probably gonna be even more problems in your life somewhere down the line. All I want to make sure is that next hour that we're together is the best time you've had in a long time, and like
Oh,
that's always the aim for live shows. So when I do my first show in Toronto, I hope like you know there's everyone's having the best time out there.
I love
I'm
that.
sure it's
I
going to be magical.
I've never talked to a celebrity in this format before or musicians.
Hey,
But
Maya's a celebrity.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
she's our in-house. No, but I
What?
mean about like no, like an interview, like actually learning about them and their craft. And I have to
Yeah.
say, like your intention to your audience. I mean, of all of the Bangladesh, like I kind of grew up on this
Mhm.
stage of lots of people from Bangladesh, from India coming to
Yeah.
perform. The intention you have, at least from what I'm hearing from you, to like make your audience feel a certain way. Like you care about the people
Mm-hmm.
that listen to your music. I haven't seen that a ton in many like even like Sholil Chaudhry, like Shonda Mukherjee, like they're like legends from our past. From them for sure, but since then it's just like it's really hard. People are like, how much money am I gonna make? Like I don't. It's very transactional. So I will say like it's
Mm-hmm.
inspiring
Yeah.
to hear this from you.
It's thank you, and it's good to be good at school. So all musicians that I talk to that are young, I just always tell them, like, just be good at school. It gives you a lot more flexibility. Me being a full-time musician would mean that I would have to take the gig that I don't want to take because, my hypothetical situation, like my children need to go to school or something, and I need money, so I'd have to do
Mhm.
whatever I need to do. And it doesn't apply for everyone. It still applies for a lot of artists that are my stage, like
Mm-hmm.
not really big shots, still rising artists. So from a lot of our perspective, it's like you have to curb your creativity a little bit at times, or curb your creative endeavors to do something that's lucrative. And I feel like just that work thing, or having that work thing, gives me the flexibility to say no to a few $1,000s, though it's a lot of
Mhm.
money. But
Mm-hmm.
this brand or this image, or however I wanted to portray Farooque Bhai project, like I put so many years into this that I don't want to lose sight of why I started this just because there's a lot more food on the table.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I love that you know your value because you talked a little bit
Mm-hmm.
about like I want my ticket price to be a certain
Hmm.
amount, right? Like a price.
Hmm.
And because you know your value. And I think a lot of artists coming up are just so hungry that they're like, all right, let's drop the price, let's get more people. And I love when you talked about this in one of your interviews of, you know, you can go out and eat two burgers for 1,000 takas, but you
Yeah,
can't pay that much to come see an artist. Like that's
Yeah.
crazy.
yeah,
Um, that's
I
really
think
awesome.
promoters do a lot of that too. It's like, take a sit, ticket bikri hoy na, free de do.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Just so
Yep.
people can kind of fill
People
the
can
fill
hall.
the
come.
room.
yeah,
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
not right either.
Okay, but a lot of artists also have to realize that you can't just raise the price of tickets and go to the same venue. Like,
Huh.
if you look at Rolexes, if you ever tried to shop for Yeezys, the only reason for all this hype is because there's a lack of supply.
Mm.
You
Mm-hmm.
can't you can't just pull up prices and not restrict supply and
Yeah.
expect something to sell for higher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I'd rather have 1,000 tickets, or have 1,000 taka tickets, but also have a 300 people venue and 300 DMs from people who are asking about tickets that are sold
Absolutely.
out.
Yep.
I think that's the kind of brand I want to create, because I've spent a lot of time in my life just waiting for it to hit 11 so I can go to the Supreme app before anyone
Ticketmaster.
else, and and to get like the Rick Rubin Supreme shirt that I want before a bot can get it. So that kind of fashion business model, I think,
Yeah.
can be carried over into music, because at the end of the day, I control the supply, and
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean,
the
you
music
see
fits
that,
into that.
when you were saying 11 a.m. I immediately thought of Ticketmaster too, where it's like, hey, pre-sale 11 a.m. and you're just
Yeah,
like literally, I'm in a meeting and I'm like just refreshing because
yeah,
like I need to get in. And I
yeah,
think that can definitely happen with like the Bangladeshi music scene too.
yeah.
Well, I think our audience is still very, the general population is still very much like, আরে কি আছে, like সবসময় তো এই আসে, এই
Yeah.
show
Mhm.
সবসময় হতে থাকে. They're like, whatever. They're just so used to having like the same 10 people come to the. I'm saying like
Exactly.
those of us that are here in the US
Mhm.
and Canada, এখন it's just become like a commodity. So nobody even craves something, I feel like, different.
Yeah.
There's have you guys heard of Jai Wolf?
Mm-hmm.
So
He's
good.
blowing up and I think of him like he's definitely done it differently, right? Like I believe he's Bangladeshi.
Yeah.
Um and I just see the audience that he gets, which is actually more than just Bangladeshis now. He's really blown
Yeah.
up.
He's very mainstream. He's not.
Yeah,
I don't
Mm.
even think Bangladeshis are his
right.
Audience.
gig at
Yeah,
all.
Exactly. Yeah.
him or Joy Crooks, I think they've been able to be agnostic of like Bengali
Yes.
fans.
Yeah. Absolutely. Dual life really helps. I think the dual life that you do have, Farooq Bhai, I think that's what keeps you fresh and keeps everyone on their toes as well. Because everyone's looking for like the next single. We don't know when it's coming.
I'm working on 6 at the same time,
Oh my
and none
gosh.
of
Wow.
none of them are close to completion. But I'm changing my music taste is also like that, where like it shifts. It always shifts. Like I'm listening to a lot of house music right now, so I feel like if I'm not making house music, it's just like doing disservice to myself. So there's gonna be some pop stuff coming up because everyone's got guilty pleasures, but I'm excited to give you guys some like Bangla house,
Yes.
Yes.
some booty shaking house.
Yes.
You get to
Ooh.
ride your pelotons and listen to my album.
Yes. How do you know us so well?
We're like the most
we're,
basic.
we were all upper middle class or lower high class.
So
Oh
if
my
if I
gosh.
were to describe you to a friend that has never heard of you before, how should I describe you to them?
You could probably describe my music. I would say you can describe my business case for why I started making music, and that would be a good way. You could probably say like, how আমরা মদ খেয়ে বাংলা গান শুনলে either আর্টসেল শুনি
Yes.
বা অর্ণব শুনি. This is the thing in the middle that we're looking for.
Ah, okay. I can see that. I can
I
see
That's
can
that.
see that
nice.
too.
I like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Um, the one question I did have for you is, in our podcast, we talk a lot about pressures we have as women in Bangladeshi culture. And we were talking about like, man, I feel like we're alienating our male listeners by always talking about how hard we have it in our culture or some of our challenges. What do you think? I mean, it's interesting, right? You almost balanced your careers because you're like, you know what, my family wants me to be an engineer, or that's typically the expectation in our cultures, engineer ho, doctor ho. And
Yeah.
then you were like, on the side, I'm going to do this music. But then you're also sort of like you said, like you grew up really fast because your father passed away and you took more of a sort of like a leader role in your family. Like what were some of the pressures for you growing up as a boy in like a Bangladeshi culture?
For me, a lot of the pressures of growing up as a boy in Bangladeshi culture, and I can just speak of my own experience, probably again leads back to what you guys always speak about, which is the marginalization of women.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of my struggles at home are because of the lack of male figure and
Mm,
the lack of people giving the same importance, in a lack of a better term, to a female figure at that era. I don't know about now, to a woman. Like a scholastic, a teacher who was a man would be making 40 grands, and my mom was a scholastic teacher, and a woman making 20 grands. So, and I would be like, why is it this way to my mom when I was
mm.
10 or 11? Because it didn't make any sense to me. And she'd say, oh, যাদের ঘরে বাবা আছে এবং মা আছে তাদের আর কি এটা তো ইকুয়েট হয়ে যায় because বাবাটাকে বেশি দেয় আমাদের নাই দেখে এখন এটা bad luck. But they're both teaching the same thing. It's not like মহিলা টিচারদের ক্লাসে সিলেবাস হাফ থাকতো.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So a lot of my financial struggles as a kid, or like growing up as the poorest kid in Scholastica, still pretty fucking rich now that I think of it. But as as a kid, it takes a toll on you. That like
Yeah.
I'd park my car a kilometer away from school and then walk in. I'd rather not have a card than show up in that kidnapper van. So it's like they kidnap me and they bring me back to school every morning. So my challenges were with that. My challenges have always been with weight. Like I'd be bullied. Like yeah. If I was a woman, I'd be very well endowed. I'm like I've always called like Baywatch in my games class because I was the fat kid.
Wow.
Really?
Wow.
I would have
Yeah,
never guessed.
No.
yeah. Puberty, like late puberty, was like just grew four
Yeah.
inches and everything was like 6 inches in a year or something. All that
Wow.
body fat went away. The voice got deep, and I was like, "Holy shit!
It was there the whole
I'm a,
time.
I'm a
Glow up.
butterfly."
You're a butterfly. Oh.
I don't know, but my struggles were image related or finance related. I think the way my mom raised us is that find humor in everything.
Mhm.
So my mom would always crack jokes about things that were going bad. Now I think of it, she's never watched like Curb Your Enthusiasm or something, but
Yeah.
she's very much like a Larry David kind of humor person. And yeah, it's we didn't really take too much stress growing up. Like that's how our mom raised us. It's like day at a time, one day at a time.
Yeah.
In the পড়াশোনায় খারাপ করলে মাইরা ফেলবো.
Exactly.
One day at a time.
What
Yeah,
did your mom teach in Scholastica?
play group.
Oh,
So,
wow.
Yeah, our whole
Ah.
life. So
Oh
it's
my
like,
gosh. My mom was a playgroup teacher too, but in
oh yeah,
Anmundi tutorial.
oh nice.
Yep. She
It's
taught there
It's like the
forever.
hardest group of kids too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I was a teacher assistant like when I was 16 for the summer. Exactly. It's a really hard class. But
Do you
yeah.
have other brothers and sisters?
I have a younger sister. She's 4 years younger. My friends call her Farooque Bhai.
Oh,
Oh, that's good. That's so good.
that's good.
Yeah. She's a go-getter. She's not she's musically talented. Like sometimes she do these vocal runs. I feel like where did you learn that? She's like, you have no memory of me going to music school? I was like, no. He's like, makes sense. You're always like too aloof. But no, she's really funny. She lives right across the road from me. And,
Oh, wow.
Oh, nice.
yeah, super hilarious and works at Deloitte, go-getter, chief of
Nice.
staff
Wow.
at 30.
Mashallah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, she's like, we're very proud of her.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And did you play cricket when you were in school? Like what sports did you play?
Soccer.
Mm.
I was like, I tried to play cricket. Like I'm I'm really into cricket, but like I have no hand-eye coordination. So
Mm.
like I went to a golf driving range the other day, and I swear to God, I hit the golf ball 20 times, and 19 times I hit the little thing on which the golf ball's placed, and I just couldn't see the golf ball and whack it. It was like some kind of, what do you call it, dyslexia?
I do
Of
the
like-
same thing.
It's very difficult. Like I've done top golf, and yeah, it's hard.
It is hard.
It's harder than
It's-
it seems.
Yeah, and like cricket's similar. I'm like gonna see the ball and whack it, and I can never hit it.
Mm.
When the ball is here, you're
Yeah,
here.
And
I
very-
can bowl fast though. My favorite place in the world is probably, it used to be Rome, but I fell in love with Palermo this time.
Mm.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
10% of the population is Bengali, and I had like the best interaction with these people. And this historic city center is also Bangla Para. So you see
How's
the
that?
oldest cathedral in Palermo, and right next to them is a guy selling somucha and singara.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow.
And
I-
then I had like Rui Mach, Bhetki Mach,
Oof,
Lal
yeah.
Shak sitting in
Wow.
Palermo in the historic center. You know,
Yep.
this place is amazing.
It's
That's
crazy. A lot of people
crazy.
don't realize it, but Italy has a huge Bangladeshi population.
I think the
And-
highest outside of
The highest
Bangladesh.
outside of Bangladesh, at least by like percentage of population.
Yep.
Yeah.
All these.
They
Yes.
farm there.
Amazing.
Like amader
Mhm.
shak shobji. You get the
Yeah.
lamba lebu. I didn't get that anywhere until I got to Milan, and I was like, "What is this?" Because they farm it all there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's huge.
I went to the farmers market and they're like, "Amra chash kori bhai," and I was like, "What?"
Yes.
জি ভাই।
সব করে বাংলায় কথা বলেন, you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
That
and
happened
you
in
can
Rome.
never get lost in Italy because there's always a
Exactly.
Bengali. You just be like, "Aije bhai,"
Bye.
He's like, ji bhai. And then one guy was like,
Nice.
"Apni Bengali?" আমি কইতাছি না যে আপনার district কই? And
Yes.
my wife's like, "What's he asking you?" I'm like, "He asked me which province I'm from." And she's like, "That's such a broad question. What's he gonna do with that knowledge?"
I have no
Oh,
idea.
No. He was like,
বাড়ি
আপনার division কোথায়?
Division.
Oh.
I wouldn't
like-
even know how to answer that.
It's like
Yeah.
which state are you from instead of which city are you from?
Because usually it's apnar bari koi. That's like the second
Yeah,
question any Bangladeshi anywhere in the world will ask you is like bari kothay.
We got a lot of like shotti Bangladesh. Ami bhabsi Kolkata. Like a lot because I think Bangladeshis go there and they don't talk to them. Like আমরা
Ah.
গিয়ে কথা বলতাম ওদের সাথে. We'd talk to
Yeah.
them. We'd want to know where they're from, what they're doing.
Exactly.
We went to their house. They would come to our house sometimes. Like it was a whole different experience because they are also another unique subculture of Bangladeshis. The way,
Yes.
Oh, gee.
yeah, it is fascinating, and how they
Really?
get there. It's a
Yeah.
whole other episode for sure.
Mhm.
And they have like different subclasses too. Like one guy was like, bye, amari kintu bhai migrant bhai benna. Like out of nowhere. It's like, আমি কিন্তু ভাই
Really?
আমি কিন্তু ভাই agriculture visa তে আসছি। but they're all working together. But like
Yes.
you know, it's
Oh my
like
gosh.
সবার
Yes.
different stories, and one guy
হ্যাঁ।
was like, "ভাই বসেন গল্প করি," and then after a couple of beers, it's like শহরের মানুষ তো আসলে মনে করে এরা স্মার্ট, কিন্তু আসলে তো গ্রামের পোলাপানরা স্মার্ট। শহরে কি খালি রেস্টুরেন্টে খাইলে স্মার্ট হওয়া যায়?
Wow.
At one point I was like, ভাই আপনি এরকম মানে এত আপনি এত ক্ষোভ কেন? সব টাইপের মানুষ তো সবখানে আছে। বলে কোয়েন না, আমার একটা গার্লফ্রেন্ড ছিল ভাই, আমার সাইডা দিছে, কারণ আমি আমি শহরের না, তো আমি স্মার্ট না। তারপরে he was telling me his whole story. He's like, ভাই আপনি যদি আমার বালিশটা সিপা দিতেন, এক গিলাস পানি বেরিত ভাই, এমন কান্দা কানছি। তারপর ভাই
What an emotion.
and like I'm on my last
Only
night in
Bengalis.
Palermo and I was like, ভাই যাই, না ভাই থাকেন ভাই, মজা লাগতেছে।
Yeah.
And like he like held my hand, he was telling me like, ভাই 7টা বড়ি খেয়ে ফেলেছিলাম, মারা যামু। পরে হাসপাতাল লয়ে গেছে, পরে ডাক্তার কইছে 4টা হজম হইছে আর 3টা হজম হয় নাই।
নালে মরে যাইতো।
নালে মরে
বাকি 3টা
যাইতো।
হজম হইলে।
হ্যাঁ, and then he's like, খালি 4 দিন ঘুমাইয়াছিলাম ভাই। এরপরে
Oh my God.
They have a rough life, a lot of
Oh,
them.
yeah.
They don't get paid with actual money. They work in restaurants
Mhm.
and they get paid with like shoes, like kapor, juta. They
food.
get
Jeez.
the worst treatment I've ever seen.
এখন কিন্তু আবার some of the folks that live in Italy have really worked up. এখন
হ্যাঁ।
half the convenience stores in
Hey.
Rome and in Palermo are all owned by Bengalis.
Wow.
So that's crazy. It's like আর রোমে তো অনেক তাও টুরিস্ট দেখে, পালেরমোতে just like টাকাই নিবে না because বাংলাদেশ থেকে আসছি।
হ্যাঁ।
Oh,
Really?
Can
I
we
love
talk about
that.
how beautiful Bangladeshis are? Like,
Oh,
they're
man.
just
Best
simple
people.
things like that. It's just
Yes.
incredible when they're struggling, but they're like, না 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 না, আপনার কাছ থেকে কোনো টাকা নিতে পারবো না.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's insane. I
Yep.
was feeling bad because when I went to Taormina, this place in Sicily, it was 42 degrees, and this guy was selling sunglasses, and I just had like 10 euros in my pocket. I just like gave it to him because it's like Bengali guy, and like I get really emotional when I go there. I'm like, I was just a rich guy's sperm, and that's why I'm here as a tourist, and he's just a poor guy's sperm. So he just like works twice as hard, but he's catering to me, and like that really like fucks
Yeah.
with my brain when I go there. So like I gave some guy $10. The next day I was passing by, and he wouldn't let me pass by, and not only me and my wife pass by without having like ice cream.
Mm.
And he just like got us pistachio ice cream, and he's like, ভাই আমার যতটুক আছে আমার অনেক আছে ভাই, আপনি আমার জন্য করছেন, আমি আপনার জন্য
That
করতে
is
চাইছি।
so true of Bangladeshis.
I am
Yeah.
gonna cry. Okay.
Yeah, like, insane. Like you know, like the most heartwarming, hardworking people
It's
Mhm.
true.
that I've ever seen, and like Canada and Japanese people too, but the emotion like. But yeah, being in Canada, being in North America, you see a lot of different like types of people. But I think in
Yeah.
Bangladesh, there's a certain amount of like norom,
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
boromon, a lot of sharing, a lot of caring, a lot of maya.
Uh-huh. It is. And
I
we're
could talk forever with you, but
I know.
clearly we don't have forever.
He hasn't said that about us though.
I know. It doesn't matter.
I'm having a good time. I could have come up with a million excuses to get out of there if I wanted.
Oh my god.